The U.S. presidential election process is complex, and in rare cases, the Electoral College system can result in an electoral tie. What happens if no candidate reaches the 270 electoral votes needed to win the presidency? Could this spark a constitutional crisis or even civil war? And could abolishing the Electoral College prevent such a scenario? What happens in an Electoral College tie? A tie in the Electoral College happens when both presidential candidates receive exactly 269 electoral votes, one vote short of the 270 needed for victory. If this occurs, the 12th Amendment kicks in. It dictates that the House of Representatives will elect the president, while the Senate will choose the vice president. In the House, each state delegation casts one vote for president, meaning large states like California have the same voting power as small states like Wyoming. The winning candidate needs a majority of the states, 26 out of 50. Meanwhile, the Senate elects the vice president by a simple majority vote. Historical precedent, the election of 1800. Only one presidential election has resulted in an electoral college tie, the infamous election of 1800. Thomas Jefferson and Aaron Burr both received 73 electoral votes, even though Jefferson was intended to be the presidential candidate and Burr his running mate. The election was thrown to the House of Representatives, where it took 36 ballots to finally elect Jefferson as president. This chaotic process led to the passage of the 12th Amendment in 1804, which established the current system for breaking electoral college ties. Though it ended peacefully, the election of 1800 exposed serious flaws in the electoral process and almost led to widespread political unrest. Could an electoral tie lead to civil war? Could an electoral college tie in today's highly polarized political climate lead to civil war? While it might not spark armed conflict like in the Civil War of 1861, it could certainly lead to a constitutional crisis. Imagine this scenario. The House of Representatives is deadlocked, unable to reach the 26-state majority needed to elect a president. Protests erupt across the country, and both parties accuse each other of trying to undermine the democratic process. While the military or courts might ultimately intervene to resolve the crisis, the potential for mass unrest is high. Social divisions have deepened in recent years, and a contested election could further destabilize the country. How abolishing the Electoral College could prevent this? One way to prevent an Electoral College tie altogether is to abolish the system entirely and elect the president by a direct popular vote. In a direct vote system, the candidate with the most votes nationwide would win, eliminating the possibility of ties or state-by-state voting disparities. Critics of the Electoral College argue that it gives disproportionate power to smaller states and swing states, while leaving millions of voters in other states feeling as though their votes don't count. In fact, in 5 presidential elections, including the 2016 race, the winner of the Electoral College lost the popular vote. These discrepancies raise questions about the fairness of the system and whether it accurately reflects the will of the people. Could we get rid of the Electoral College? Getting rid of the Electoral College would require a constitutional amendment, a process that is extremely difficult. It would require a 2/3 majority in both houses of Congress and ratification by 3/4 of the states. Alternatively, some states have joined the National Popular Vote Interstate Compact, an agreement in which states pledge their electoral votes to the National Popular Vote winner. Once states totaling 270 electoral votes join the compact, it could effectively bypass the Electoral College without amending the Constitution. While the compact hasn't reached 270 votes yet, it signals a growing movement toward reforming or abolishing the Electoral College system. Conclusion: the fragile balance of democracy. A tie in the Electoral College is rare, but it's not impossible. A system in place to break such a tie could lead to deadlock or political instability, especially in today's divided political environment. Reforming or abolishing the Electoral College might help avoid these risks in the future, ensuring that the president is chosen by the majority of voters rather than the quirks of an outdated system. Whether through constitutional reform or sticking with the current process, one thing is clear: the balance of American democracy is fragile, and it's up to the people and their representatives to protect it. But the tie in the Electoral College isn't the only threat to our republic. Let's look at 10 more hypothetical sticky situations for the United States Constitution. Since its ratification in 1787, the U.S. Constitution has served as the foundation of American democracy. But what if this living document faced unprecedented challenges? In this video, we explore 10 hypothetical scenarios that could test the boundaries of the U.S. Constitution, raising questions about its durability and relevance in the modern world. Scenario 1. National emergency and suspension of elections. Imagine a sitting president declaring a national emergency and postponing federal elections to ensure public safety. Could such an action stand? This would challenge the fundamental principles of democracy and the peaceful transition of power as outlined in Article I, Section 4, and the 15th and 19th Amendments. Historical precedents, like President Lincoln suspending habeas corpus during the Civil War, have tested executive powers in times of crisis. But would postponing elections cross a constitutional line? Scenario 2. Mandatory digital surveillance. What if the federal government mandated real-time surveillance on all digital devices to prevent terrorism? Such a law would force us to confront the Fourth Amendment, which protects Americans from unreasonable searches and seizures. After 9/11, the Patriot Act already expanded surveillance powers, but this hypothetical would take it even further, raising serious concerns about the balance between civil liberties and national security. The Snowden leaks in 2013 revealed how delicate this balance already is, and this scenario would push the boundaries even further. Scenario 3. State secession. What if a state attempted to secede from the United States, citing a disagreement over federal regulations? This would harken back to the Civil War and the legal doctrine of the Supremacy Clause in Article VI, which holds that federal law supersedes state law. In 1861, Southern states attempted secession, leading to war. While the issue seemed resolved in 1865, could a modern state claim its right to leave the Union under different circumstances? Scenario 4. Presidential refusal to leave office. Imagine a scenario where a president loses an election, but refuses to leave office, claiming widespread voter fraud. This would test the 12th and 20th Amendments, which outline the procedures for electoral transitions, and could force Congress to intervene. The potential for constitutional crisis here recalls the election of 1876, where a deadlock in electoral votes almost led to civil unrest. Back then, a bipartisan commission decided the winner. Would we see something similar today? Scenario 5. Religious law in state governance. What if a state passed legislation requiring all state laws to comply with a specific religion? This would challenge the First Amendment's Establishment Clause, which prohibits the government from endorsing or establishing a religion. Historically, cases like Engel v. Vidal in 1962 have struck down prayer in public schools as unconstitutional. This scenario would push the boundaries of church and state separation even further. Scenario 6. Corporations with political powers. Now imagine a multinational corporation establishing its own private military to protect its economic interests, challenging both federal and state governments. This would test the concept of corporate personhood as established in Citizens United v. FEC and raise questions about the limits of corporate power and the Second Amendment, which addresses militias. Could corporations gain a foothold in national security? Scenario 7. Universal basic income versus congressional power. What if a president enacted a universal basic income without congressional approval? The Constitution, in Article I, Section 8, gives Congress the exclusive power to tax and spend. However, executive overreach has been a point of contention in cases like Youngstown Sheet and Tube Co. v. Sawyer, where President Truman's attempt to seize steel mills was struck down. This hypothetical would likely create a constitutional showdown between the executive and legislative branches. Scenario 8. Internet free speech restrictions. Suppose Congress passed a law requiring all social media content to be approved by a federal agency before publication, claiming it would prevent misinformation. This scenario would test the First Amendment's free speech clause. Historically, the courts have ruled on similar issues, like in Reno v. ACLU, where provisions of the Communications Decency Act that restricted online speech were declared unconstitutional. Would this new law survive? Scenario 9. Dual citizenship president. Imagine a U.S. citizen with dual citizenship winning the presidency. Opponents challenge their eligibility, citing the natural-born citizen clause in Article 2, Section 1. The Constitution doesn't define natural-born citizen, and cases like Minor v. Happersett dealt with citizenship but didn't resolve the question of dual nationality in a presidential candidate. Could this lead to new interpretations? Scenario 10. State-level banning of federal enforcement. What if a state passed legislation banning federal agencies, like the FBI, from operating within its borders? This would test the 10th Amendment, which reserves powers not delegated to the federal government for the states, and the Supremacy Clause, which holds that federal law takes precedence over state law. Similar conflicts have arisen over sanctuary cities and marijuana legalization, but this scenario would escalate to a full-on constitutional crisis. Each of these scenarios challenges the interpretation of the Constitution in ways that could reshape the balance of power, individual freedoms, and the very fabric of American democracy. The question is, how resilient is the Constitution, and how far can it bend before it breaks? Thanks for watching the Cap Tech. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more deep dives into the challenges facing our democracy. Please check out the links in the video description for our merchandise, books, and audiobooks. And stay tuned for some songs, both in favor of and against the Electoral College.
Say every vote should matter. Somehow it's just a game. In the swing states they hold the power, while the rest just scream in vain. We march to the polling stations, but it feels like we're out of range. 'Cause a winner's not the people's choice when the system won't change. Hey, hey, break down the wall. The Electoral College makes us fall. Shouting out for something real. It's time to turn the wheel. Every voice should echo loud. One vote, one nation, one crowd. Hey, hey, let the people reign. No more winners by the margin of pain. In the shadows it divides us, blue and red in line so tight. But most of us, we go unnoticed, and our votes fade into night. They say the founders had a reason, but times have changed, we can see. Democracy should be for all of us, not for just a few. Let us be free. Hey, hey, break down the wall. The Electoral College makes us fall. We're shouting out for something real. It's time to turn the wheel. Every voice should echo loud. One vote, one nation, one crowd. Hey, hey, let the people reign. No more winners by the margin of pain. They say every vote should matter, but somehow it's just a game. In the swing states they hold the power, while the rest just scream in vain. We march to the polling stations, but it feels like we're out of range. 'Cause a winner's not the people's choice when the system won't change. Hey, hey, break down the wall. The Electoral College makes us fall. We're shouting out for something real. It's time to turn the wheel. Every voice should echo loud. One vote, one nation, one crowd. Hey, hey, let the people reign. No more winners by the margin of pain. In the shadows, it divides us, blue and red in line so tight. But most of us, we go unnoticed, and our votes fade into night. They say the founders had a reason, but times have changed, we can see. Democracy should be for all of us, not for just a few. Let us be free. Hey, hey, break down the wall. The Electoral College makes us fall. We're shouting out for something real. It's time to turn the wheel. Every voice should echo loud. One vote, one nation, one crowd. Hey, hey, let the people reign. No more mountains high to the city street, a system born where all states meet. They say it's old, that it should change, but this balance keeps us in range of every voice, big and small. The Electoral College hears them all. One nation, 50 states side by side. No voice too small, no vote denied. From coast to coast, we keep it fair, so every state gets a share. In the heartland or on the bay, the Electoral College paves the way. We stand as one, but stay unique. With this system we all speak. The founders knew this land was wide, from rural fields to cities side by side. Without the college we lose a choice of the smaller states and their voice. If one big vote could win the day, we lose what made us great today. Each state matters, every size. That's how we keep these equal ties. One nation, 50 states side by side. No voice too small, no vote denied. From coast to coast, we keep it fair, so every state gets a share. In the heartland or on the bay, the Electoral College paves the way. We stand as one, but stay unique. With this system we all speak. In a land so wide and diverse, we're not all the same, but we converse. From the mountains high to the city street, a system born where all states meet. They say it's old, that it should change, but this balance keeps us in range of every voice, big and small. The Electoral College hears them all. One nation, 50 states side by side. No voice too small, no vote denied. From coast to coast, we keep it fair, so every state gets a share. In the heartland or on the bay, the Electoral College paves the way. We stand as one, but stay unique. With this system we all speak. The founders knew this land was wide, from rural fields to cities side by side. Without the college we lose the choice of the smaller states and their voice. If one big vote could win the day, we'd lose what made us great today. Each state matters, every size. That's how we keep these equal ties. One nation, 50 states side by side. No voice too small, no vote denied. From coast to coast, we keep it fair, so every state gets a share. In the heartland or on the bay, the Electoral College paves the way. We stand as one, we'll stay unique. With this system we all speak. The founding vote could win the day, we lose what made us great today. Each state matters, every size. That's how we keep these equal ties. One nation, 50 states side by side. No voice too small,